So my name is Stacey Berry. I am representing Blacks in Technology Foundation today. We are a US-based foundation. We have 80 chapters in 20 countries. My day job is in the world of government relations. I do have my own government relations company where I'm lobbying the government on issues that benefit people or the environment. So let's start with you, please, Liberty. If you can please just give us some insights into your professional background and how you're adding value to AI innovation or the tech sector.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cynthia. Good afternoon, everyone. Very happy to be here with Nobellum on stage as we get into this conversation on AI. I am Liberty White, which She Learns AI, where we're all about education and helping to grant access to women in tech through AI. Just a quick, my background in marketing and media, a native of Toronto, but Brain Drain caused me to go south side, so now I got a chance to live in both places and come back and forth and just contributing to this conversation around what's possible with AI, what's possible with the technology, and how many founders are there in the room right now, if you want to just raise your hands. And so we'll really be speaking to how we can support and help you through the tech.
Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Ellis. I'm the founder and CEO of Nobellum. I spoke a bit about my journey, I guess, earlier, so I'll keep it really short right now. My career transitioned from history to project management to law to software engineering, and now I'm a social impact investor. And so not a straight path, but I think those were all really essential building blocks in having a 3D view of what is coming out in terms of the new future, this new industrial revolution where we're rewriting laws and creating new banking infrastructures. So it's a very exciting time to be around and happy to be here.
Awesome, thanks, Bill.
Hi everyone, my name is Satenda. I head up the Wealth Innovation Lab for Bank of Montreal. Background, I spent most of my life as an options trader in the financial markets, equity derivatives and interest rates, and then moved into some strategic roles in strategy, business management, delivering on technology platforms, etc. But right now my mandate is really to deliver on the promise of emerging technologies across Bank of Montreal Wealth Division, right, and primarily focus on delivering on the promise of artificial intelligence, right? I think, she was asking earlier about how many founders are in the room. I think it's an exciting time to be around with these tools and the capabilities they give us. So every day my mandate is to really experiment and explore the efficacy of these technologies and how we can deploy them across our business.
Thank you, Satenda. And my first question is for Liberty. Can you share how cutting-edge AI technology is being integrated into the world of digital marketing? And how is She Learns AI helping women level up their skills in tech? And last piece is, why is it so critical to bridge that gender gap? So that's a bit heavy.
Right. Well, I think we saw a lot of it with the pitches today. So I think it was Kiwi that had some machine learning, some predictive analytics. So your ability as a founder, like even thinking back, so I'm not gonna date myself, but let's just put some S's on the decades. And when I had a marketing company here in Toronto, and I was doing gospel entertainment and just thinking about what it would take to do a newsletter, what it would take to really do market research. There was another young lady who had, just her being able to get to the point of an MVP. So having these tools that we're coming up on the 2-year anniversary of OpenAI. And so AI is not new. 50 plus years old, 60, 70 years old. But what is new is the ability for the public to have access to it. We do not have to go and develop, do all this machine learning. We don't have to train all this data. We're able to use it to be able to get ahead. So from the marketing perspective, that you right now go download, pull out OpenAI, Gemini, Copilot, you can use that right now to build a business plan. You can use that to help you with market research. So that's how it's impacting us right now. How does She Learns AI come into that? That's because when it comes in, we know there's a STEAM and tech problem, else Nobellum wouldn't be here right now. And when you look at the technology, men overall in US data, but when it comes to these new tools, 52% of men are using it first. You will find they're tweaking, they're playing, they're testing, they're trying, they're failing and testing. While for us as women, 31% of us will try and test. And we saw that last night. What happens when we are not in the game, even if we're qualified. So the women that qualified, it's not that we're not qualified to be involved in AI, it's just access, knowing what it is. You've got to be in the room like this to hear these conversations, to say, yes, I'm going to get involved. I'm going to figure out a way to do something with it.
Yes, thank you for those insights. And it's always good to go to places where you don't see yourself represented and always bring others along who also aren't represented. So the next question is for you, Tatenda. Given your extensive background in financial services and business transformation, how can AI adoption or integration help us to create wealth? And what kinds of AI tools can we use to create these economic opportunities for ourselves?
Wow. Okay, so I think we've got to abstract at a high level. We talk about what is wealth, right? And you've got to separate economic wealth, which is I think a lot of people in the founder space are chasing, right? You want to start up something, you want to make a business, you want to be self-sustaining, etc. Then there's aspects of wealth, which is time, right? Your ability to connect to people, your ability to do the things that bring you joy and bring you pleasure. The moment that we're currently in, if you think about it, we've taught these machines how to speak English, we taught them our language, and now we can engage with these machines, as Liberty mentioned earlier, without needing to know the complex mathematics or write syntax and code to be able to speak to them. So if we look at just the economic wealth perspective, using these tools, and I bifurcate AI into traditional, which is machine learning and predictive stuff, and into generative AI, which is taking the world by storm. The way I look at wealth creation, for example, on the economic component, is really using these tools to distill knowledge, right? It's democratized. That's what Liberty was talking about. Knowledge is now officially democratized. You don't need to depend on Tatenda, you don't need to depend on somebody else. It's available. If nobody's using ChatGPT now, or somebody's, whether it's Gemini, Perplexity, log on, start experimenting, ask it the questions. So the knowledge you require to become economically independent, understand what's an ETF, what's a mutual fund, what are alternative investments, how do those work, how do I get access to alternative investments, how does the stock market work? Use these tools to be able to digest that information, right, as a way to gain wealth, right, and that's the economic component of wealth. The other component, which I think of more as a philosophical perspective, is the amount of time that these tools give you, right? So the big drive that you get from generative AI, which is the talk of the town, even though, as she mentioned, AI has been around for like 50, 60 years. Gen AI and its ability to be able to create stuff gives you capacity, right? It allows you to do so much more in less time and do it very quickly and do it very, very well. So when I think of how to use these tools to create wealth, there's definitely the economic component, right? Think of these tools as things that allow you to accelerate your business. Think of them as tools that help you do so much more than you can do now. But also think of them as tools that give you time, right? Because health is wealth, time is wealth, right? So don't think of it just purely from that component, abstract high, and think there's so much more you can do given these tools and engaging with them.
Can I jump on that for a second? Just perspective, because there's some founders here, and whether you're technical or non-technical, many of us are creating content. If you're posting on LinkedIn, if you're on Instagram, whatever the case, you're creating content. So imagine how long it takes you to record a video and then think about the caption and then, oh, do I post it? When do I post it? When's the best time? What do my analytics say? That's some hours, possibly a week for those who that is just crippling. Versus you go into, and I'll use someone else now, you go into Gemini and you give a screenshot of your analytics and say, here's where I am with my content. Can you give me a better idea for when to post, or how long should it be, or what are the popular? So you just cut out hours out of your time in a matter of minutes. So that's what Tatenda is saying, when you get your time freedom back.
Another way to put it is, think of these tools, these AI, these current abstraction, think of it as a co-founder, right? You no longer need to, so if you think of how you typically set up a startup, you look at the skill set that's required to go to MVP, right? So I need a developer, I need someone in sales, I need someone doing. Now, using these tools, you can bring the toolkit to yourself without having to engage additional people. There's a great podcast called Moonshot with Peter Diamandis, and they have a theory on there that the next $1 trillion company will be run by 3 people, right? Just because of how efficient these tools make you.
Some food for thought. Thank you, both of you, for those insights.
I love being sandwiched between us.
Right, I'm dropping so many gems. So the next question is for you, Melissa. A global study from KPMG between 2020 and 2021, they looked at the level of trust. So they did survey over 17,000 people about how they feel about AI in terms of trusting it across 17 countries. So pretty wide in the scope. But they found that 61% of people were wary about trusting AI systems. So in order for us to adopt or to learn or to upskill, there has to be a level of trust. So, what are the consequences of not participating in these upskilling opportunities? Talking about Natasha.
So what are the consequences in us not participating in the development of AI, essentially? Because I think your mic cut out a little at the end. One of the things that I'm really fascinated by is why the world works the way it works. And it's part of the reason why I studied history. When I look back at when the first banks were being developed, the laws that were being written to govern the way that we interact with each other, we were kind of on the receiving end of that. But now, in 2024, we get to be active participants in the design of the new laws that are coming out, the banking infrastructure, the way our data is protected, what is considered important and what is not. So you have a choice of whether you want to be a part of writing history or on the sidelines watching it happen. And so as a community, if we want to see ourselves in different spaces, we're going to have to go into spaces where we're not, right? And I think there's a theme here around the future of AI and tech. It's not about them or us. It's us as a community collaboratively working together, because AI learns off of what is being inputted into it, the kinds of questions that's being asked, the kinds of data that's being updated, and who is participating in that development. So we all have a responsibility to participate. We cannot afford to sit on the sidelines and let everybody else build it for us. The more images of yourself that you're using, the more knowledge that you're creating into it will allow us to have greater reference points. Like the other day, I think someone was trying to create the image of a black figure skater, and her face was deformed because it's not a common image that we see. But if we keep putting more and more of those images in there, the data that we get out will be more reflective of our ecosystem. And I think we do have a responsibility, and we can't afford to sit on the sidelines.
Yeah, thank you so much for that reminder. So, Liberty, for you, can you highlight a few programs and resources that support diverse founders in AI, and also what trends should we pay attention to or invest in?
So from the program perspective, pretty much all of your big players have some sort of program, whether that be Google, Microsoft, AWS, all of them. So you can literally go to their website right now. And education, and that's the space that we play in, education is such an important key, because right now so many people need to be upskilled and reskilled. So they're doing their part there, and of course they want you to then ultimately use Copilot because you're learning through the process. But I just finished doing a program with Goody Nation where I was an AI coach in residence, and that was all these tech founders where we were able to help them figure out, okay, what tools or systems that you can use to help you with operations, to help you with fundraising. So if you look at, there are a lot of social impact organizations that are helping from that perspective. Also, I would say a really big thing is, and I want to demystify a little bit just what's happening in the space. Everyone is learning at this point in time. So I just want you to know that everyone is learning. Yes, there are organizations and companies that have more resources and bandwidth, but again, I said the last 2 years, that with that, if you jump in now, you're a part of that wave versus maybe a year from now or a month from now. So I just want to give that peace of mind with that. And in saying that, YouTube University is your friend. Matt Wolf is one of my favorite folks there, and this is marketing from that perspective, but anything new tools-wise, he's always sharing some things. Also, there's a young woman with Women in AI in Nova Scotia, Nancy Ago, and she does a lot around policy and things like that. So those are just some resources off the top. Oh, and then of course, LinkedIn has a lot of people as well. She learns AI, of course.
Of course. And I'll add from a different angle. So one of the emerging areas of AI that I've kind of stumbled into, because my background is public policy, is understanding ethics and the regulatory frameworks that need to be put in place. So there is an organization based in Washington, D.C. called the Center for AI and Digital Policy. I did complete their training. It gives you a real global viewpoint on where AI strategies and legislation is in our world. So whether it's in the West, in the Caribbean or in Africa. I'm particularly interested in what's happening in the Caribbean and in Africa, African countries, I should say. And then there's also Blue Dot. They're based in the UK. I'm doing a weekly course with them right now, and you learn about, AI safety. These things are free. You just have to apply and be open-minded. So if you want to get into, ethical AI or learn about the regulatory frameworks that we should have, these are the other opportunities. So there's the technical skills that you want to develop, which is great, but then there's also the policy side, and our federal government has a whole strategy, which hopefully we have time to get into, but there's so many ways that you can participate and add value. So I do want to encourage everyone to really see where they can add value based on their existing skill set. All right, so moving along, and how are we for time? Because I want to make sure, okay, there we are. Okay, I just want to make sure we're good.
And I'll just jump in while you look for that is, and then you were saying some trends to look for. I'm definitely keeping my eye on what's happening with video. You've got folks like Opus Clip, you've got Sora. All the top players in the game are releasing models that the good side is being able to create. The other side is the deep fakes and being aware of those things, and deep fakes just false imaging and things like that. In addition to that, looking at areas as wellness and health tech, I'm looking at what that's happening because we're overwhelmed. It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in. So my other question is for you, Tatenda. How can diverse founders leverage AI to drive innovation? And do diverse founders use AI? How can they use AI, to develop a unique competitive advantage?
Oh, that's a great one.
Yeah.
The headline being, so if we think of what is the pinnacle or what is a good proxy for innovation, right? And I always like to look at the Nobel Prizes, right? Because it's supposed to be given to people who are moving the species and mankind forward, humankind forward. And if you look at the 2024 Nobel Prizes that were awarded, one was in physics for some of the work that was done in actually developing these models, and then the other one was in chemistry. All that to say is that they were using AI to identify different ways of synthesizing proteins, right? Some of you will understand that better than I will. But what you've got to realize is that these tools are becoming so advanced and so easily and readily available to you that you're able to actually come up with something that's completely new, right? All it is, it just takes a bit of time to engage, as we spoke about earlier, understanding what these tools are, how do they work, what is ChatGPT, Perplexity, Gemini, understanding what is hallucination, what is real, what is not. But I spoke earlier about using these tools as co-founders, particularly as founders. And I just want to give almost the guidance that you want to separate product versus feature, right? The risk you run as these large language models, whether it's ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., become more and more sophisticated, they may actually eat into some of the business models that are being developed by founders today. So one of the things that I would say is focus on solving a problem, right? Figure out ways to make the AI help you solve that problem in a better way. So for example, if you think of us, I'm in the wealth business, I was in capital markets. In the wealth business, we're in the business of trust, context, right? Clients trust us with their money. We give them context in terms of how they, where to invest and how to use their money, right? That's the product. How we deliver that product is how we then use AI. So what I would say to founders in terms of thinking creatively about how to use these tools is to be very, very clear that you're solving a specific business problem and you're using the AI to help accelerate solving that business problem. Because the risk you run, if you build a chatbot, and I've been guilty of this, if you build a chatbot that consumes or ingests a bunch of documents, etc. Right now we're looking at what? GPT 4.0, 0.1 preview. By the time we get to GPT 8, it'll be able to do that native, right? I've seen stuff that used to take me hours in R and Python to write, done in 30 seconds by ChatGPT. So it's really understanding where the products can help and where the true value proposition you as a founder bring to the party, right? And that's really understanding your client, that's really understanding the product market, but that's doing all the basic, but really using these tools to help you accelerate. Use it as a thought partner, right? I always, I think the big theme is think of it as a co-founder. The knowledge is democratized. Being able to really detailed analytics of your business, whether it's modeling cash flow, whether it's identifying a segment in the market, whether it's generating 100 marketing documents to be able to pitch to 100 clients. The headline is engage tactfully, and think very clearly about the business proposition and the business solution that you're solving versus just throwing AI at it.
And Tatenda's really, I wanted to just, because there are some founders here, that's really important because everyone has been slapping AI on their documents, on their business plans, And I spoke to some investors a couple weeks ago, and they were specifically saying that that's not what we want to see. And to be very mindful of that, because that speaks to your credibility now and your credibility of understanding where this tech is going. So from one perspective, yes, do that for yourself. Like build a chatbot to learn and to discover, but be very careful in your business how you are using it.
Make sure it's a valid business model, right? Ultimately, what is the revenue model? Who are the clients? The very basics, and then deploy AI on top of that. The risk, like you say, is you build something that 2 months from now, Gemini releases a new model and you no longer exist.
Can I add something to the unique value proposition? You know, you said something that happened to a lot of my colleagues. We studied software engineering, and now there are apps that create MVPs for you. So people who are very highly technical are already being replaced by AI. And so to your point around leveraging it and not being too dependent on it, I think it's key. And in terms of your unique value proposition, I really think you need to hone in on your creative problem solving skills. That is not, well, yet. Teach AI that. And I think that that's something that doesn't matter what industry you go in, it's going to be relevant, because even the technical people are not safe. It's really about some critical solution as you're approaching innovative approaches to solving problems, right? So I just wanted to, definitely underscore that, because a lot of people say, hey, I'm not technical, this is not for me. But if you're creative, and I see there's a lot of creative people in our community, I think that there is definitely a way to use those creative skills in this space.
And I want to add from, I guess, the hats that I wear. So, I mean, there's a lot of founders that are in a very product-based business, right? So it makes it easier to use AI to scale because you can measure it in a very tangible way. But I'm in a service-based business, right? So I do a lot of like briefing decks and one-on-one meetings and things like that. And I've been exploring, well, what is the best AI tool for me? I haven't quite found it yet, because there's critical questions I have, like what's going to happen to my data or my intellectual property if I put it on this like software? Do you guys own this? I'm also an author. You have to also ask critical questions when you're, engaging with these companies. Let's say they have AI solutions for you, so that you're also still protecting like your IP and your data. And then you want to test it even before you roll it out, because if you have a different departments and you want to make sure it works properly in a smaller segment before you roll it out across your whole company, because then it can cost you money if it didn't work, or there's glitches, there's privacy issues. And so those are the questions I kind of go in with before I decide what solution would help enhance the kind of business that I'm in, and then thinking about some of the other concerns around copyright and who really owns this book that I use the system to create and then put it on the marketplace. Like, do I own it as the author of the book, or the technology that generated the content for my book, right? And that's still being ironed out within our existing legal system. So just some food for thought, and to always kind of have a critical mind as you're going into these things and asking, the right questions. So Melissa, for you, why is it essential for diverse founders to be users of AI? And how can society ensure that AI is not used to amplify income or wealth inequality?
Yeah, that's a big question. I think so with the founders, right? One of the things that I have observed is that founders are so busy building their company that they don't build systems around them. And I would actually challenge the founders in the room to take a moment and take a step back and look at what does your daily operations look like, and actually look at ways that you can fill in those gaps, like Tenda had mentioned earlier about optimizing your systems. So I think also, to the point that you made earlier, I've seen so many pitch decks where AI is just slapped on top of it. They don't even have a CRM. I'm like, and then we have to explain to them and teach them what is a CRM and how do they use that to leverage their data. But I think that what I would like to see more from the founders is building in innovative industries where when you add AI, it's not a crutch, but it's optimizing you. And so I think one of the biggest mistakes I see founders make is just slapping AI onto their product without fully integrating it into their operations, optimizing them, and then finding ways to use that AI to enter emerging markets. Because there's a lot of repetition happening as well. And so as you're doing your competitive market analysis, looking to see, okay, which industries hasn't been tapped in by AI? How can you innovate in those spaces And I'm telling you, that distinguishing factor will go very far. Even in the pitches today, we literally have a startup from every single industry. And we were intentional about that because we wanted to show the diverse range of how innovation could be applied. And from real estate to e-commerce to EV to beauty, right? It can be applied in those streams, but really try to find your own distinguishable lane. And in terms of how to ensure that it's not, causing a further divide, I think the challenge is on us. If we look at it, we are top 5 in the world when it comes to having a very good quality of life. I mean, I complain about my mortgage, and as all Canadians do. But overall, when we look at it, we're actually in a very unique position that's never really been around before. We have technology literally leveling the playing fields. This is giving us access. So I think that we could leverage the opportunity, but the onus is on you. You can only bring a horse to water, you cannot make it drink. So you guys have to actually take up that mantle and ensure that you are putting yourself into spaces, you are doing the work that you need to do to stand out and build a sustainable product.
Awesome, thank you so much for that. So we do have about 6 minutes left, and there's resources I want to share with all of you, but before I share the resources, I do want to ask kind of like a wrap-up question to get everyone's thoughts here. So what is one key thing we should do today to prepare for the future of AI to ensure we are not left behind? And I'll start with you, Tatenda.
That's easy. The word is engage. I start off by saying this is an exciting time to be on the side that I am, working in a corporate, trying to figure out how we can take advantage of these tools and make ourselves even better in terms of how we service our clients and deliver products to our clients. But in a startup context, your ability to really scale quickly and do it efficiently is probably second to none. We spoke briefly about the competitive advantages that all businesses seek as they try and carve out a niche in which to play. You have to, what I would say the big headline takeaway for any founders is AI has to be part of your strategic operational objective. Somewhere in your roadmap of where you want to be, you've got to be thinking, how do I deploy these tools in such a way that I can run faster, deliver more to my clients, and be able to differentiate myself. So if you think of the ability to be able to really differentiate how many emails you can generate, the tones, anything that's creative related. So I would say the headline is engage. Knowledge is being democratized. You don't need me, you don't need anyone to tell you how to use this. Engage with these tools and use them.
Yeah, I would say there's some innovative ways to use AI, like literally it's becoming my grant writer. For those of you who are building businesses and you're just like, where does AI even fit? It may not fit where you're thinking. It may be creating some type of a search that allows you to plug opportunities that your company can benefit from. You may use it to do a weekly search and say, hey, are there trade shows coming up that would fit my company? Are there companies that are launching, different budgets that align with services that you could procure? Like you could actually do searches and refresh them every week. What kind of grants are coming out in your community? We used to build like these different crawlers, and the process we had to go through like 5 years ago to search for a grant was ridiculous. We'd have to build these crawlers, and then they would go and like vet all these different sites and then bring it into this long Excel sheet. And now I just go to ChatGPT and ask it for a list. You don't even have to build anything to put on as an extension. So there are different ways that you can leverage it. So don't just think of it as, okay, it may not be able to send my emails, it may not be able to do all these other things, but maybe it could just be a search engine that gives you a table that you can use as a hit list for when you're raising revenue. And so I just use that as a tangible example, because I know lots of people in this room are looking at different ways of generating revenue.
So I would say professional development, whether that be you're a founder or a lot of people didn't raise their hands, so I'm going to assume you work in a 9 to 5 potentially, is that to the point of like the MVP, you are the secret sauce. So think about the things that you struggle with, or the things. The best thing is like, what do you not want to do? AI can't do our laundry yet, but I don't want to respond to emails. I don't want to think about those things and looking at the tools and how it can help you make your life easier. Microsoft and LinkedIn did a report earlier this year, and they coined a term, BYOAI, bring your own AI to work. So think about that for yourself of like, how can you bring your own AI home? What is gonna help you easier? So it's professional development, whether that be life or in work or in your founder in your business.
In China, AI is doing your laundry. By the way,
a lot of things.
yeah, it's washing dishes, it's making you tea. I'm like, that's something that I used to like to do. I don't know if I'll be making my own tea anymore, but would you really trust an AI to bring hot tea? I don't know. But yes.
Or do your laundry properly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Yeah, and then for myself, again, it's really thinking outside the box and doing your own professional assessment of your skills and seeing how, you can add value to the AI ecosystem, right? So I do want to share some resources that I really think will be beneficial for those of you here in the space as it pertains to our federal government and our government in general. I find a lot of this information is there and too many of us don't know. So FedDev Ontario, by show of hands, how many people have heard of FedDev Ontario? They funded a lot of the Blacklight accelerators. Well, they launched a $200 million fund through their Regional Artificial Intelligence Initiative. And so they have two pillars. One is for companies who want to produce or commercialize AI products, and this is open to SMEs, this is open to startups and even nonprofits. The second pillar is for companies that want to adopt or integrate AI into specific sectors. So think of some of the pitches you saw earlier today, healthcare, life sciences, logistics, as an example, and this closes December 20th. So if you're interested in that, write down FedDev Ontario, Google it, put the date in your calendar, share it, because we have to share the resources with our community so that we all can benefit. And then in terms of some of the ways you can get involved as citizens, you can participate at a committee hearing at the federal government through the House of Commons. And when you look at the list of who participated, and I went through it for the session, you don't count 10 names, you don't even count 10 companies. So what does that say about who is shaping the policy and the legislation as it pertains to AI development, AI deployment? The government is looking for your ideas, and we have a unique advantage. We have a lens that we can bring that they would see value in, but if we don't show up and we're not participating, then we're missing out on that opportunity for our voices to be heard. There's opportunities to write briefs that will be in the government record, and there was also a consultation that the Treasury Board that I participated in, where just a survey, just a few questions, didn't take much time, where you were allowed to give insight on how you feel that AI would impact their federal services and the services we may use as it pertains to the government. So we do have just a couple of seconds left, so that's it from myself and our lovely panel. Let's give it up to all the speakers, and thank you for joining our session.